we are looking at a just energy transition for Uganda's emerging issues. Often we need to clarify what's the connection between energy transition and water. Then a connection is quite clear because whatever form of energy we use, we need a component of water in it. And as they say, water is life. So the basic issue here is that we observe that, in this whole discourse of climate change, we know that Uganda is a country where climate vulnerability has put over 80% of the population vulnerable to climate change. Why? Because they depend on fossil fuels, they depend on biofuels and waste for energy. Some people are using sugarcane waste for cooking, some people, the majority use charcoal. However, there is no adequate policy legal framework. In that context, we problematize what we want to study, and we say there is limited information on how the policy legal framework provides for what we call a just transition. What is this in particular? What we call a just transition is one that provides for respect of human rights and the entrenchment of the historical justice. How do we fight the entrenched inequalities and historical justice? How do we deal with them? So we believe that if we do this, if we deal with injustice as we implement the road to transition to clean energy, then we are able to help the communities, especially those that are the hardest hit by climate change, the women, the children, and the young people. So what methods did we use in this study? Basically, I used the three methods. This is what we summarized here. We had literature review, because we had to do an extensive review of the literature which talks about energy policies, transition, respect of human rights, and vulnerable communities. We also had the key informant interviews with the people at different levels, at the MDA's level, the ministries, departments, and the agencies, international agencies, the local organizations that are involved in this work, and many other groups. And finally, we also had some focus group discussions. So we analyzed this based on the principles of energy transition. In the interest of time, they are here: recognition-based justice, procedural justice, distributive justice, remedial justice. These are big terminologies which can be unpacked, and we unpack them in our report. So what do we come up with? What are our results? Our results is that Uganda has a lot of policy, especially for oil and gas, But all this, we are seeing that one of the key things is that within these policy frameworks, there are two key things. One, there are gaps that address the rights, that address justice for the vulnerable groups. And I was giving the example, if the president issues an executive order on charcoal burning, it is an executive order, so we can't debate, we have to respect it. But then the question is, what are the justice? If you look at our definition here, in terms of retributive justice, procedural justice, remedial justice, for the communities and individuals who depend on charcoal, there are people whose livelihoods depend on charcoal. There are people who only get food after charcoal, after they have been engaged in charcoal burning. So these are the issues we look at. And in here we highlight the policies, the key policies, which we review in our report, which we believe that they are not adequate in terms of addressing issues of justice and human rights. For example, the energy policy of 2023 is the latest and the most active. The National Environment Policy, the Oil and Gas Policy of 2008, the Climate Change Policy, the Mining and the Mineral Act, the Petroleum Exploration Act, the Environment Act. Those are some of the policies which we believe are lacking in dealing with the girls. We also believe that women and girls and other marginalized groups are affected by the lack of affordable energy and the transition, which we believe is unjust. It fails to address the human rights and the justice issues involved. Lastly, what do we recommend? We recommend many things, but in the interest of this presentation, we specifically believe that we need to build the energy system foundations that will be necessary to power Uganda's future to a just, safe and affordable system. Because the big question is, as we transition, what is affordable to people? That is the justice we are talking about. If we stop charcoal, how many people can afford the alternatives, for example? If you can't afford the alternative, then what does it mean for you? Aren't you a Ugandan? Aren't you a human being? Won't you eat? Uganda is not short of policy. You can see these are just a few we picked which are relevant. The question is, how do they address the aspects of the energy transition?